get to run against the incumbent, you've still got to get out of the primary. So tell the folks what's different between you and Kathy. Do you guys have differences of opinion on anything? Are you similar? What's the difference?
I'm not really sure where she stands on a lot of things. I mean, I know I'm very passionate. I want to reduce the size of government. I want to go in, I don't want to go in there and be one of these people that go along and get along. The only two issues I know of that we disagree on is, and they're actually kind of local issues, well, one's local, one's state. I know on the Board of Selectmen, she supported this regional 911. I think that, it's a terrible idea. It's not going to save any money. Even if you read it on paper, the only way it's going to save money is if they shut the police station down at night. And, do you want to live in a town where the McDonald's is open 24 hours a day and the police station isn't? I really don't. But also, if you read the report that the consultant came up with, they mention in passing, but don't say that, well, since the police station's going to be shut down at night, not only are you going to need a regional dispatch center, you're also going to need a regional jail. And those costs, if you arrest somebody and there's no one at the police station, what are you going to do? So those costs aren't even included in the study. So again, if you really look at it, it's not going to save any money. The other thing is, one thing the legislature did this year is they put the Community Preservation Act as a line item. Now, community preservation is a good program. It's funded with, it's debatable.
It was, yes.
It was brought up to kill it, and the town voted to keep it, so I have no problem with that. But, it's funded with town money, and there's a state match, which has been dwindling, because originally it was set up that the money would come from a tax on deeds. Which, if you're buying a $200, $300 house, you don't notice that $35 tax, and you figure it's just your mortgage company trying to get a few extra bucks out of it.
Right, sign here, sign there, sign there.
But to actually make it a line item and take it out of the state budget, that means it's going to be competing with local aid. And I would rather have that money coming back as unrestricted local aid. Because the CPA money has strings attached. You can only do it on certain things. So just from that standpoint alone, I don't want it as a line item of the budget. And the other thing is, it's more local aid for rich towns. I mean, if you look at the towns that get the most matching money, it's Nantucket, Cambridge, Wellesley, Weston. They're going to be getting a boom, a big windfall from this, and we're not going to be getting as much.
But so they also voted to, they may have a larger percentage that they're taking out of their tax dollar now. That's why they're getting more.
Well, they also have a bigger tax base, so
right.
They have a bigger money. But again, I'd rather have that money coming back as unrestricted local aid.
And what we'll do, we'll give Kathy the opportunity to respond to these. We'll ask her the same question on what's different, so that she can respond to the differences between you two. So I don't have a follow-up to that, but I will pass it on to Bill for another question.
Okay. Let me see. Got that. How do you plan on actually doing anything in there? What's your goal for the first 2 years there?
Well, as a Republican, really for the first 2 years, I'm not going to be able to do anything, because even if I was able to get my entire agenda through, Deval Patrick would veto it. The thing is, if you look at the last election, the number of Republicans in the House went from 16 to 32. And if you look at what some of those people like Sean O'Connell, Jim Lyons, Mark Lombardo, they were able to shape certain aspects of the debate, like the EBT card abuse, healthcare money being spent on illegal aliens, things like that. Just bringing things to a vote and at least starting the process of reform. Ideally, what would happen is the Republicans would pick up a few more seats. I'd be one of them. Would be able to push an agenda a little bit, maybe improve a couple of bills that could be improved upon, and then in 2 years, hopefully there'll be a Republican governor, and we'll have enough people in the legislature that we could support him to actually implement the program.
Excuse me. This may sound like a crazy idea, and it's something that I've always thought it should be. New Hampshire does it very well. They have a part-time legislature. What are your feelings on a part-time legislature for Massachusetts?
I like the New Hampshire system. I mean, they really are part-time at this point. As I say, they've been in there for 6 months. They haven't really done anything.
I know when you look at the roll call in the newspaper, sometimes it says they've been in session for 13 minutes.
Yeah, I'm sure they have some committee meetings and they have hearings, but yeah, they're really doing part-time work. They're making full-time salary. I'd like to see them either be in there and do more work, do some oversight on these state agencies, the ones that want to, outlaw bake sales in schools, those guys. So, I mean, either do some real oversight and do some legislative work, or just be part-time. And what do they make, $600 a year in New Hampshire?
I think $550.
Yeah.
I thought it was like $150 a year.
No, it's
It's
not
some
much.
small.
Whereas I think in
amount.
Mass they start at 61,000, and
And if you get appointmentships,
yeah, they push up
chairmanships,
like 68, 70,000, plus the per diems.
Now, folks, I just want the folks out there to know that I'm feeling a little skirmish here because I'm surrounded by Republicans. I'm a Democrat, although I was a Republican for a few months, maybe not a few months, a few weeks, about a year ago. So I figured I'd let the folks know that I'm outnumbered.
And then you
here.
lost the way.
Then I lost my way and back
lost
to a
his
Democrat.
soul.
But my next question is, what votes would you have taken that are different from the incumbent now? Any recent votes that would be different from what she's voted on?
Well, like I say, I haven't seen the journal, so I don't know what she voted on some of these things. I wouldn't have voted for the health care bill. As I say, I think it's just phony baloney numbers they threw together. I'd like to see, rather than having a new agency regulating the hospitals and things like that, I'd rather go to more of an approach where you're giving patients options. I mean, one of the things they talk about in this bill is they want to give people the pricing information on what something costs. So if it's, if Lowell General is half as much as Brigham and Women's, people will know that. But if it's not affecting the money out of their pocket, it's not going to matter. I mean, do you want to save your insurance company $500 just because you know what it costs less? I mean, in theory, it'll lower your premiums. Does anyone really think their premiums will go down? So you have to give people some skin in the game where they know that, if I'm choosing a lower cost alternative, because, if you need stitches, you don't need to go to Mass General. If you have strep throat, you don't need to go to Brigham and Women's. So you can go to a lower cost alternative, but it should save you a few bucks. I know on my health insurance, if I get a generic drug, it's cheaper than if I get a name brand. Should be the same kind of thing. If you're just going for basic procedure, you go to your local community hospital, it's cheaper, you save money. Plus, there's other things too. If you look at some of these community hospitals, they're merging and consolidating. Leahy just merged with a hospital up in Gloucester, and you have the old Caritas Christi has formed this Steward Healthcare. They've actually been advertising on the Olympics. They're trying to put together their own network to compete with Mass General and partners with community hospitals. Now, there's some question about whether their business plan will operate. I know supposedly they operate 10 hospitals. One of them, the Kearney Hospital, supposedly they're already making moves to try to unload. But, I think it's a business model that could work. It may not work in all their hospitals, but, to put a little competition in, let the hospitals fight for your business a little bit, as opposed to just, going where you
Now,
where you
but
want.
was there any specific vote that, do you recall that the sitting rep took that you would have voted differently, just to give the folks out there an idea of the differences?
Again, I haven't seen the votes that came through on these things. Like I said,
Right.
the healthcare vote, she voted for, I would have voted against. There was another vote, it was the economic vote, the thing the border bill was in, I forget that's the one that included the tax holiday, so there was some good stuff in there. There was also some stuff in there I didn't like. Like one thing, I don't know if you're familiar with these business improvement districts that they have. There's 6 or 7 of them around the state. And what it is these businesses in downtown areas, they can join together in a voluntary group, and they can do things like spend more money on security, maintenance, those kind of things. But it's a voluntary thing. Now they just passed this thing, and businesses are going to have to be in. So basically, you're going to be paying, it's a percentage of your property tax. So your businesses are going to be forced to pay a tax to a private organization, which I don't think is right. I mean, if you want to opt out, you should be able to. This Rose Kennedy Greenway in Boston is talking about setting up one of these organizations. So I know last year, you remember the Occupy Wall Street people.
Oh, the wonderful people.
Yeah.
I think the last of them just pulled out the other day.
Right. The Greenway people were, first off, they let them camp on their grass and just wipe out all the grass. They were giving them free electricity. They were paying for police details. I would be very unhappy if I was a businessman in that district paying a tax to this organization that is, supporting this group. So I think things like that, again, the state, the legislature and the governor like to kind of force people where they want them to go. I'd rather be giving people more options.